Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Raymore Repair. Today we're going to be putting a regulator rectifier in this King Quad. Now I think what we're going to do is try to pull this up enough to get the regulator rectifier without pulling the fenders clear off. To pull the fenders clear off, we've got to pull the rack, the battery, all the electricals that are in here have to go back through a little hole, so everything has to be disconnected. Also around on the sides, there's a bunch of screws on the fender flares that need to come off. So we're going to pull the rack and see if we can't get the plastic up enough that we can get in there and pull that regulator rectifier out. Here we go. All right, our next step is the two bolts that are on these high water foot pegs. I think they have nuts on the back side. We'll take a look and see here. Why, yes, they do. 12mm wrench gets to it pretty good. It's just extra pieces. There went one of the nuts on the floor. They also have these collared spacers on the back side so it doesn't crush the plastic. There went another nut down there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This time I'm going to try to do it without losing the nuts. We'll see how that works out for me. I can remember years ago working at a dealership and setting these things up. Whenever you took them out of the crate, there was just this huge pile of nuts and screws and washers, and it took a little bit to figure out where they all went. Then there's another one right here. Of course, that is an 8mm nut. I'll grab us an 8mm wrench. There's some on the bottom of the rack right underneath this. They're back to the 12mm. Going to do the same thing on the other side. There went my 10mm wrench. At this point, we can just pull the front rack off. Now I think what we're going to do is, that regulator's right here. I got my finger on it. I'm going to see if we can cheat this a little bit and get the screws out without going to a tremendous amount of more trouble as I try to get the screws out of the regulator rectifier. Ay, caramba. That sweetheart was in there. See if we can get the top one real quick. Man, we can't get on it very straight. I think I'm going to give it a thump with a hammer before I even try it. Yeah, you're kind of looking the right way. Oh, yes, it come loose. Hot dog. This one I think I could save. There it is. Both of these look just like this. Just Phillips head screws. Look a lot like the fender screws, but they're not. And now for my next trick, I'll try to find the ends of the wires so we can actually disconnect this and reconnect this. I see 3 yellows right there and a black and a red, so I'm pretty sure that's the connector right there. Getting to it, that's going to be an issue. I'm afraid we're going to have to do some more work on getting the fenders out of the way. We're probably going to have to at least pull this so we can get this fender to flex out enough I can slide that out of there. These have a lever down on the side, removes the seat, and you pull forward. Most of them are back, but this one is forward. And we're back into needing a number 3 Phillips. We're going to work on getting this panel loose with the 3 shifters in it. And we'll work on getting that off. There's 2 number 3 Phillips screws back here. And remember, these have washers. All that stuff's important. Now I'm going to set them in a little different location here. So when I go back together, I'll be hunting for them and wonder where I put them. There's another one up here. You have to turn the handlebars the other way to get to the last one. Now this panel isn't even close to off. We've still got to deal with all the knobs in order to pull it off. So we'll work on that next. We'll run all these back because the screws on these 2 are in the front and this one's on the side. Let me grab a number 2 Phillips instead of a 3. We'll start with the range. This has a high, low, and a super low range. This thing will climb places that you are not willing to take it. It's really a pretty amazing machine. The only thing you can't do is go fast. It does not go fast well, but if you're not in a hurry, this thing will absolutely go anywhere. These are still fairly sought after. These LT-250s, LT-300s, the LT-F300 This is the 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive front diff lock knob. Now those are all off. I think we need to bring those forward. Put that in about halfway. Take our fuel cap off. This is this is the fuel gauge. So just hangs off the bottom of the cap, and you pull it out, and wherever it's wet is wherever the gas level is. We'll put it back in. What we're after under here are these 2 10mm bolts, so we can flex this plastic out a little bit. You can see this one's already cracked here. Part of this one's gone. This one's cracked right there, and this one's cracked up. What that tells me is it has the wrong bolts in it, and somebody didn't put the collars back in it. So it just squished the plastic until it split. Yeah, these are still metric. But you can see they're flat washer. There's no collar at all. So that's why that plastic's splitting out like that. This one has a hose guide on it, and so does this one. I think I'm going to be well advised to take out some of the fender flare screws in order to flex that enough. And this is still attached back here too, which will work it out. There we go. We're to the wrong side. The back is out farther instead of in. There. I'm going to take some of these fender flares out. That'll let us flex that plastic a little bit more. Now on a more modern four-wheeler, these are all plastic rivets. And you hit anything very hard with them, the plastic rivet pops out. That's bad that the plastic rivet pops out, but it's also good because it allows the fenders to flex before they break. It's getting looser. What happened to this thing was it would start and run good until it warmed up a little bit, and then it would start running terrible. It would start misfiring and carrying on. So I asked him, if you turn the headlights on, does it run better? And he was mystified by this, but said, yes, it did. It ran better. And I said, well, if you got a voltmeter, put it on the battery and see what kind of battery voltage you got. So he did, and he called me back and says, hey, my battery voltage is above 15 volts. I said, yeah, you got a regulator rectifier that's not working. So as long as the battery is not fully charged, it keeps the system voltage down, and it runs okay. But as soon as this thing starts to get the battery charged completely up, then it starts to run not as good because the system is being overcharged and the ECM is just crying for help and doesn't really know what to do. We're going to give that a shot and see if we can slide that regulator part of the way out and get to the wires. I think if I pull that around like that, reach in here just like so and hold my tongue just right, can probably get this out now. The big issue is getting the wires disconnected. That is going to be the challenge. I see we got a reusable zip tie in here stopping us. Aha! And there we have it. This is our regulator rectifier. So let me get the new one. Now, this is our old one. This is our new one. The bolt holes are the same. It's a little bit bigger, but there's enough room in there to make it work. But the more important thing, because I can mount this anywhere, is this. Our connectors are actually the same, and we have the same color wires in the same places. Pert near amazing. Alrighty, we got that installed. Let's check our battery voltage and make sure we're not overcharging still. Alright, we're sitting at 12.32 volts. That will need to be forward. That's all right. We're staying down around 14, low 14s. And that's where we want it. See if we rev it up, it doesn't come up anymore. The regulator is doing its job. It's holding the voltage down to about 14. I'd like to see 14.3, 14.4. But since it's an aftermarket one, it's probably doing just fine. Well, now what we got to do is put our bodywork back together and put our rack back on. Then we're going to change the oil in this thing. So I'm going to start and put bodywork back on. I'm going to give you a broader overview here. And I want to start with this panel back here that has all the knobs on it. All the shifter knobs. So I'm going to set you up about there and just go at it. Got to get that back down to where it goes. Kind of like that, and then I got to get this bodywork back in its place, like that. Then we have the 4 screws inside here that we need to put in, which will be this one. And I'm just going to give those a couple ugga-duggas, and that'll be tight enough because this plastic is kind of brittle considering this thing is like a 98 or 2000 model, somewhere right in there. I'm going to start these bottom ones, but not tighten them up yet, so I can wiggle that top plastic around while I line those up. There's those. Man, I wish I could just got you guys in there better to see what I was doing with that Reg Rec, but just really no way to get in there and for you to see and me to see as well. And I figure if I'm actually doing the job, I probably need to be the first one to see. All right, we're going to put our fender screws back in now. Alrighty, there they are. All right, we'll put our rack back on. And if I remember right, it uses the regular screws and these with a collar and a 10mm nut. Since there's 4 of them, I'm thinking that's right. But I've done some thinking before and not been right. So we'll see how that works out. Trying to feel my way into this. Say that's tight, these are tight, that's tight, these are all done. That means it's time to move to the other side. That one's in. We just got the 2 on the front. And we got 1 more to go. All we got to do is find the bolt, and then we'll put it in. That much is done. We'll put our front cover back on. Screw goes down here. One more. What do we got? Oh, okay. And that's it. Our regulator rectifier's in. Guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it whenever you watch on the Raymore Repair channel. Go ahead and subscribe, leave comments, questions, criticisms, whatever you would like to do would be great.